Cheesesteak. Somebody took mine. I sat on it, but they got his hands on his head. It's under arrest. Yeah. Hell no. I'm under arrest. Okay, Daniel. Your wife's gonna make you ride in the back, huh? My daughter and my wife. And the postman. And the postman. He's retired. He's a retired postman. From Texas. At least that's what she told me.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Good to start a day off with a good educational group so we can get some more learning and instruction and stuff like that in. Don't know really how the group's going to go today, but however it goes, it's going to go, right? We need to make sure that we're getting. Thank you, Mr. Cole, for being on top of things, saying make sure that we get our sign-in sheets completed. I'm going to be leaving a little bit early today. I don't know how that's going to affect group. Probably not at all, but we'll see. We also know that when we come to group, we bring our books with us to group, right? Everybody got their books? You got a brand new book, brand new client, so we got a brand new book. Pretty good, huh? We're losing some folks today. We're going to start on page 21. We always start on page 21. We're going to ease there in just a moment, talk about that for just a little bit, but we also have to have a goal for the group. Now, this week, if we're talking about our emotional health as we get into recovery, it's very important because, look, emotionally, a lot of the times our use of drugs and alcohol have tamped that down. And so we haven't been using our emotions the way that we're supposed to be using our emotions. And sometimes they come back on us pretty hard. So we need to know how to deal with those emotions and stuff. We're going to continue in that vein, but we're going to be looking at coping skills today. And so a lot of the time, my emotional health decides what kind of coping skills I'm using. While I was out using back in the day, my emotional health was not good. And because my emotional health was not good, I used a lot of alcohol to tamp that down. That was my coping skill. That's what I did. So we're going to be looking at coping skills today and see if we can't find something to put in the place of the use of alcohol and drugs. Because I will tell you this, I have several different coping skills right now, and I use them instead of and in lieu of and in place of the alcohol that I used to use to deal with all of that stuff. You know, there's always going to be something in your life that you have to deal with. And so, you know, when something comes, when things came up that I had to deal with, I would, I could use some alcohol and drugs. And when I used the alcohol that I was using or the drugs that I was using at that period in time, I didn't have to deal with it. You know, it was just gone. It was okay. It was fine. You know, it just wasn't an issue right now. So now I have to have coping skills that not only help me cope with whatever's going on, but also realize that they are still there. You know, when I was drinking, the problems weren't there. They weren't there. They were just gone. Now, they were really there, but in my mind, they were gone. Nowadays, when I use the coping skills that I use, they're not, I realize they're not gone. Now look, I left my glasses at home today, so I went to Walmart this morning, which is a store I don't appreciate a lot, and got some of these new glasses. Now, these are not these are not nice looking glasses. So y'all don't laugh at my glasses, at least they're helping me see. So we're on the third one here this morning, the third stage, not the third day. Y'all remember that. First we had denial, where we had denial or trying to avoid things in our life that were emotional to us. Then we got to a place where there was a little bit of insight, a little bit of acceptance. I got to a place where I knew, hey, you know what? I do have emotions, and they are doing some things in my life. They're causing me some issues. So I need to be able to take a look at those, be honest with who first? Myself, yeah. I need to be honest with myself. I need to be honest with my higher power. I need to be honest with God. And look, I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm in recovery from being a liar. I know I know you wouldn't believe it, but I lie. Not only do I lie, I tell big lies. And not only do I tell big lies, but I tell big lies often. So I'm in recovery from that. So nowadays I tell the truth. Sometimes they get you in trouble, right? So if somebody comes up and asks me a question about something, guess what I'm going to tell you? The truth. Yes, sir.
Now, wait a minute.
Wait a minute now.
You said lie.
Yeah.
Then you say you tell big lies.
Yeah.
So now you're saying you tell the truth.
I try to.
How are we going to really be able to distinguish when you're not lying and when you're telling the truth? That's all I want to know.
Well, you're going to have to look. That's a good point. You just show that man is just brilliant. You know, if I lie, but I not tell big lies, but now I'm trying to tell the truth. So how do you know I'm telling the truth? Or maybe even when I tell you I'm telling you the truth, maybe it's a lie. Could be a lie. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. You're just going to have to deal with it. You have to use some of your coping skills. I will tell you this. Just like everybody else in both groups, we're still going to suffer from some of those things that we need coping skills for, right? That's why we have to have the coping skills. I'm going to tell you this: I'm in recovery from lying. I might lie to you again. I might relapse, right? I might do that. So sometimes what you have to do when I tell you something, just take it from face value and then wait and see. You know, if I tell you I'm gonna get you a donut, wait and see if it happens. That could be a lie, but I am working real hard. I want to tell you the truth on everything. I just do. So I'm working on that. So y'all, just like everything else, we have to give each other a little bit of a break there.
In reality, you really just lied because you say you tell a lie, and then you tell a big lie, and then you tell the truth.
Yeah.
So you lied.
I lie. Yeah. Right in group. This is why this stuff and the other stuff that I have for you this morning that's not my material, right? I do have some materials. I've written 7 books, and I have 1 book on anger that we're using here a little bit. And so, I do have some stuff out there, but I'm not using my stuff this morning. I'm using other stuff. So now if they're lying, I have no control over that. So, this is not my stuff. So, on the third one here, look, we talked about insight, acceptance. We got to the place where we knew we had some issues. There's several, I'm in recovery on a lot of stuff. I'm in recovery from lying. I'm in recovery from sugar. Have I relapsed on that? Every time I get an opportunity. So, you have to start over again. I wanted to stay on August, was it August? Yeah, August the 22nd, I went into recovery from sugar. And I didn't have any sugar for a solid week. Then I relapsed. Then I relapsed. Then I relapsed again. Then I relapsed. Once you relapse, it's hard to go back to lapse, right? It's hard to get back to the place where you ought to be. That's why we have to know our own triggers and do those things. The dollar store is a trigger for me, especially the one over here. I went over there yesterday, relapsed again, and decided I was going to go in there and get some peanuts or something because I can eat all the peanuts I want. The fact that I had peanuts in my car already didn't make any difference. I decided to go over there. So what did I get? I got a box of those Nutty Butter bars, Nutter Buddy bar. Man, those things are good. But those that they have over there, you get like 6 of them for $1.25. So that's a real trigger. But they weren't real Nutty Buddy bars. They didn't taste them. So I gave them to Miss Charnel.
You should have went and got another box.
No. I didn't want another box. So anyway, I relapsed yesterday. So today is my first day, my new day, my brand new day of being in recovery from sugar.
Yes? I didn't want to say this, and I'm going to back the rest of the day.
What did that you just say? You just gonna say this? You just lied right off in group.
Anyway, what I'm gonna say? You was in denial. You said you had peanuts in there.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yes.
So you go ahead and
yes.
So you was in denial.
Yes, sir.
You know what you were going to
Yeah.
Your mind was made up.
Oh yeah.
You going to get something sweet.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Absolutely. That's just that's being an addict, right?
I remember back in 1946, I was in that same state of mind.
Yeah. I don't remember nothing from 1946 because I ain't that old. And so we're in stage 3, which is the action stage. And that's a good stage to get into. We need to get there in our emotional health. You have accepted the need for improvement. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Don't tell anybody this, but there's no one here. There's no one at North. There's no one that works here. There's no one anywhere that doesn't need some improvement. We can always move to a different level, right? We can always move. Even if we get way up here, there's always another level we can go to, right? We can always get a little improvement. And so we've come to that place that we know, we accept the fact that we need some improvement in our life. So we need some improvement of our emotional health and are actively seeking help and willing to take suggestions. That's a really good place to be. I will tell you, in my addiction, there was time I wouldn't take your suggestion on anything. I want to hear what you got to say. This is my life. Y'all remember the song? I don't need you telling me how to run. This is my life. Remember? And so, I don't want anybody telling me anything. Nowadays, not only do I accept input from other people, I actively seek it. I want you to give me some input. I've had people in this class come up and tell me stuff on a daily, probably not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. Look, you this and this and this and whatever. I've had people in the group raise their hand and say, hey, so I need that input, and I accept it, and not only accept it, but I'm looking for it. So we're willing to take constructive action towards improvement. Look, it's not a healthy thing for me to be anxious all the time. Is it okay to be anxious?
Yes.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah. And I get anxious. I've been telling y'all every day. And I'm going to tell you a couple more days. Y'all only got a couple more days. I'm going on vacation starting Monday.
Yeah.
I'm calling we've looked around. They found roof rot on my trailer. Pretty bad messed up. So I've been looking for one to rent. Yeah, great. You can't rent one of them things. They want half of your bank account, your left leg, and so
it would be.
Sorry?
They got a spot up it would be here pretty good.
Oh yeah, they got all sorts of places all over the place, up in Woodville and everywhere else. And you try to rent one from an individual, you can't do it. They have these. They won't look. The ones up in Woodville, they'll rent it to you for $2,000, $3,000 for the period of time that I need it. So I'm going today to check my own personal trailer out, and I'm gonna get them to do all the stuff they were supposed to do, except for to fix the roof, and I'm driving it. I'm gonna drag it out of there, but I do have a little bit of anxiety about what those people are going to try to tell me today. You can't do it. Yes, I can do it. It's mine. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I really think you're gonna allow to the wife until the.
No.
You're not allowed to until the 6th?
No. I'm gonna tell her. We going, and the roof is rising. So we may be out there on the middle of the road somewhere, and the roof fall over. Say it again.
You're gonna make her exactly go through the roof.
Oh yeah. She's gonna be crazy. So you're right. I may have to relapse and lie to her about everything's all right. Yeah. But I am going to get some. I am going to get some big pieces of tape and put some of that big piece over there. Get a little hole and put that over that hole, and I'll tell her that made it perfect. And it's going to be all. It's going to be all right. Yeah, it's going to be. But I do have a little. Say it again.
Sounds like a lie.
It just sounds like a lie, doesn't it? Yeah. But as long as it don't rain. Yeah. No, we're gonna put some tape over it. It ain't gonna rain. But see, all sorts of things like that are going to bring a little bit of anxiety into my life, right? It is. And there's going to be a little bit of anxiety. But I don't want to be anxious my whole trip. And I don't want to be anxious my whole life. And y'all know that my wife suffers from high anxiety. And I've seen what it's done to her. And I don't want to be in that situation. So I've got to have some coping skills for that. What's your coping skill when you have some anxiety?
Take medication.
Take medication? You can. My wife takes a whole handful of medication. You can do that. And to some extent that works, right? I have some other coping skills. So let's talk about our board for just a minute. And I'm going to start taking the board over to South because it's so good. And I'm going to start bringing it over there.
Yeah, they got bid on it. We ain't got to bid on it. The girls got it.
Yeah, because they can't bid on it over here because they don't have any money. But, they believe that the ladies may have some money so they can bid on the artwork. But also, what was that I just did? What did I just do? I relapsed on the lying thing because I ain't taking this over there. But I'm being truthful. I came right back and told them, look, I can't bring this over there, so it won't fit my car. I don't think it might, but I'd have to tear it down. I'm not doing that. I barely get it moved over here to the other side. Usually somebody else does that for me. So, but what is this one this morning? What you doing?
New stuff.
That's a bag of new stuff right down here.
Bag of new lights.
Yeah, bag of new stuff. We need to look. We need to have some things. Say it again. Table in the way. See, we need to have some new stuff that we're going to look. All of our. You can't see it.
I can't see because
you can't see it. We want you to be able to see it. We're going to move it down a little bit. Can you see it now? Yeah. Okay, see it. But, that's it. But, he's got a bag of new stuff here because we've all got coping skills. We all have coping skills. And look, the coping skills that I've used since I was 6, am I still going to be using those coping skills? Look, some of those that I'm using, I'm probably going to use again, but I'm going to make sure that those coping skills are coping skills going to work for me. Look, vodka is a great coping skill. It is not a coping skill that's going to work for me anymore. It's just not going to work for me anymore. If I use that coping skill one more time, I'm going to have 3,000 other things I'm going to need coping skills for, right? And I will tell you, a lot of times my battle with sugar is that it's a coping skill. Because when I'm feeling bad, well, I always look at my little thing here that shows me what my sugar is. And right now, this morning, it's at 192. That's about 90 points too high. And that comes from my coping skills with the junk I ate yesterday. So, and see, the devil is not on my side because I said, well, I'm going to get started again this morning. I'm going to take off. I'm going to do it correctly. I'm not going to eat any mess. And what are they doing today? They're making barbecue. In that barbecue, you know how much sugar and stuff's in that barbecue? Oh man! So I'm gonna have to be careful on that. I would like to, but God is good to me too because there's a funeral I have to go to, and I'm leaving at 12. So by the time y'all get it ready, I'm gonna be out the door. But my boss is good to me as well. So she says she's gonna save a plate for me for tomorrow. So okay, I may make it through today, but I'm gonna have to do something tomorrow. Yeah, So anyway. That one, we do have those coping skills. Some of those coping skills may be marvelous. Some of those coping skills we can continue to use, right? One of my greatest coping skills today is prayer. I talk to my God every day, without fail. I'll talk to the Lord Jesus Christ every day. And that's a great coping skill for me because when something's about to fall in on my world, I can give it to Him. He can handle it. There's nothing going to happen in my world today that the Lord doesn't already know about and He can handle. So that's one of my biggest coping skills. Right? That is my biggest coping skill. The second thing I do a whole lot is talk to other people. Got a good coping skill? Yeah, it's a wonderful coping skill. Look, they say that a problem shared is a problem halved. Right? And so if I can get rid of 50% of my problem just by talking to somebody else, that make it a real good idea that your partner, your wife, your husband is on the same level you are. Yeah, you don't want somebody there that's they're still using those old coping skills of they're smoking something, shooting something, drinking something. That's not good. That's why we don't go back to old people, places, and things. So this morning our goal is to learn a couple of new coping skills. The other thing is that we're going to be looking at some of our old coping skills in a new way. Because, some of the coping skills that we've had since we were in our teens or in our preteens or in our tweens or all of those things, those coping skills, we bring them out, we dust them off, and we reuse them. Because if they're good coping skills, why shouldn't we use them? There is a parts store in the little town that I'm in, and that I live in or live. It's a town before where I live, but they closed down. And I noticed when I went by there the other day, there was like a '72 Chevy Chevette sitting back out there. Going, wow, I'm gonna stay green. I said, man, I'm going to stop by there and talk to those people. They're not going to be this out there in the back is sitting in the weeds. Man, they need to give me that. That I have those kind of strange thoughts. People are going to give me something. They don't usually. But I'm going to go by there and talk to them. And I said, one of the things that I have that's not a real good thing that I cope with things is procrastination. Anybody do that? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to wait. If it needs to be done right now, guess what? It'll still need to be done an hour from now. It'll still need to be done tomorrow morning, right? And I use that as a coping skill. I don't have to do it right now. It can be done tomorrow. Is that a good coping skill?
No.
Not usually, but that's going to screw you up. So guess what happened? I went by there. I will. You bought it? Yeah. I went by there the other day to take a good look at that thing, because this lime green looking thing, and so and it's gone. It's gone. Yeah. Same thing happened to me with a Volkswagen. There's a little VW Bug out there, and it sat there for like 5 years. And I said, man, it's no good to them, so I'm going to go by there. So the moment I decided today is the day, I go by there and it's gone. So that skill that I have to procrastinate, I need to get rid of that thing, right? And there's some things that I use as coping skills that I need to say, okay, that's not going to work for me anymore, right? Right. So we're going to take a look at some coping skills. We're going to take a look at some coping skills. Some of the coping skills that we look at this morning could be new to you, and that's great. Take a hold of them. Give them a shot. And I've had people tell me this before. Y'all see how I didn't go crazy? Come in and disrupt the whole group. But okay. But see, I didn't go crazy. My coping skills are working a little bit better. But some of those coping skills that I haven't worked with in a long time, we need to pull them back out. We need to talk to them. We need to see how they're going. So one of the ones we're going to talk, and this is kind of what we're talking about, is social support. Is that a good coping skill? Yeah, it is, because I'm going to tell you something. You remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? What does Mr. Maslow say? Part of his hierarchy of needs says that we need love and belonging. We are social creatures. Whether we want to tell somebody that, whether we want to believe that or not, we are social creatures. We do everything we can to socialize with other people. Think about that. Where do we go drink? I did a lot of my drinking in my car and in my house and stuff like that. But a lot of us go to the bar, go to the clubs, go to stuff like that. Why do we do that? The booze at those places are 5, 6 times more expensive? So why on earth would we go there?
To mingle.
To mingle. There are people there. There are other people there. So we do those things because we want to socialize. The difference is there is negative socialization and there's positive socialization. So if I go to the bar, if I go to the club, that's negative socialization. Because it's taking me to a place where I'm going to get drunk, get high, and get goofy. There are also people out there that are negative socialization people. You know them. You know them right now. One of them just ran through your mind. I cannot go see Bubba anymore, ever again. I also can't go see Bubba's sister, Babette. Babette. I came to Texas. I ain't never heard all that. I came to Texas. Everybody here named Bubba. All except for the girls. They're named Babette. It's just like that. So here's the thing. Few things are as powerful as having a supportive person in your corner. Is it important to have a supportive person in your corner? Yes, it is. We just said so. But look, we need to make sure that the person that we have in our corner is supporting us in the best things, in the right way, in the correct stuff. So if I have somebody that's going to support me in my recovery, that's a big deal. Most of the time when I'm in my addiction, and look, a lot of us are still in our addiction. We're just in sobriety, holding on, white-knuckling it for a few days. Some of the people that were in my life, those people are very super-duper supportive of our recovery. We don't want to hear anything about it. There's other people in our life that are just as equally as supportive, but they are supporting our habit. They're supporting our addiction. They know us and they love us, but they know us and they love us when we're high, when we're drunk. They don't know us when we're sober. They don't like us when we're sober. So about the first thing they do is support us when we get out. Here, I got a little something for you. Man, you know what? I'm going to tell you, I know that you're trying to get sober. I know you're trying to stay off of the methamphetamines. I agree with that. I need to get off of it myself. I will never use meth around you again. I will never give you in that. But look, you know yourself you could have a nice cold beer. That ain't going to hurt you. That's not your drug of choice. Now, but what they're doing is helping you get to that other place. And once you drink a beer, once you drink a couple of beers, once you drink 3 beers with them, they'll say, well, I know, but look, if you want a little bump, I got it. I'm not trying to get, but here, if you want, okay. So they've gotten you back to where they remember you. So they're supportive in that direction. We need somebody that's supportive in the other direction. Sometimes we are not appreciative of the people who support us in our recovery. Because those are the people who will say, you can't do that, Bubba. You can't go to that bar. I don't care if that is your bestest, most goodest friend. You can't go to their party. Because they're all going to be drunk. They're all going to be high. You can't go over there. Those are the people who are supporting us, and we think they're getting in our business. Let me share something with you. We need to be willing to have some people get in our business. We got to be willing for some people to mother us. Get in there and say, you can't do that. That's not good. Y'all remember the song by the best group that ever existed, 3 Dog Night? Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. That ain't the way to have fun. There's going to be people, if you have supported people in your life, they're going to be telling you that. That ain't the way to have fun. Getting high, getting stupid, that ain't the way to have fun. You need to go somewhere else where you're going to have a whole lot of fun. Go to church. I'm not going to tell you that story. I was going to tell you the story where we were doing the Lord's Supper one time. We had a young man who was helping us do the Lord's Supper. And we had a big chalice that was full of grape juice. And everybody had the Lord's Supper. And I was walking down just saying hey to people. And look, I looked up there and this guy's chugging the grape juice out of the thing. It's not wine, dude. It didn't work. It was just grape juice, but So anyway, we need to have some. Just knowing that friends, family, or even a fellow group member or sponsor are pulling for you can make all of the difference. This is why we tell you need to go to a self-help group. You need to go to AA, NA. You need to go to Celebrate Recovery. You need to go somewhere. Why do we tell you when you leave this place, you ought to go for 90 meetings in 90 days? Why is that?
So you can associate yourself with people who are getting sober, possibly find some more people who have their life.
Yeah, so that you can associate yourself with other people and all of that stuff who are trying to do the same thing you're doing. I've always kind of wondered there for a long time, when I'm getting out of treatment and stuff like that, they said 90 meetings in 90 days. And, I could go and do 9 meetings in 9 days and say, hey, I got 10% of it done. That's good stuff. But, after that, okay. And then the next time you get out, they say, look, 90 meetings in 90 days. Okay. The reason we want you to go, and I finally figured it out, the reason we want you to go for 90 meetings in 90 days, how long does it take to create a brand new habit in your life? 90 days. If you go for 90 days, 90 meetings, it becomes a part of your life. If you can do it for 90 days and 90 meetings, you can do it for 90 years. You may not do it every day for 90 years, but you can do it because it has become a habit in your life. It's what I do. I'm no longer anxious about going. I'm no longer a little scared about that. I'm no longer problematic for me to say, hey, my name is Herschel. It's no longer a problem for me to get in there and support and put $1 in the plate. Like we say, if you got $1, give $1. We don't have an issue, doing all of those kinds of things. So it takes 90 days to get that habit in your life in a real positive, stick to it way. So that's why we want you to go for 90 days. And then, you may not go every day after that, but once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week, you can do that without any compunction whatsoever. It's there. It's what it do. And some people continue once a day, and there ain't nothing in the world wrong with that. There was a time in my life that, I know people who have gone 3, 4, 5 times. I got a friend, and I told you about him, named Mike. Mike will go 3 or 4 times a day. Get up in the morning, go to group, and go to work, and then lunchtime go to group, and then go home, and then that evening get up, go to group, and still watch TV all day. So I guarantee you, right now there's a group going on somewhere here in Beaumont. There's a group.
9:30 we got West.
Say it again.
9:30 West End.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Well, how often do we need social support? We probably need social support. We need it all the time. I need to be able to call somebody when I need to be able to call somebody, right? So we need daily social support. I mean, every day. There's more to social support than having somebody to call in moments of crisis. Do I need somebody to call in a moment of crisis? Absolutely. That's why I have not only my sponsor, that's not his total job, but not only my sponsor, but I have sober support people. People who are not my sponsor, but are sober and support me, listen to me, talk to me if I call them on a daily basis. I had y'all saw me, I was doing the board and everything else, and I had the phone stuck to my ear. That was one of my ladies calling me for some support this morning. While I'm at work, trying to do something, trying to help, she's calling me for prayer and support this morning. She had a crisis in her life, and we talked it out. I think she's going to be okay. So, but we need people who have strong relationships or more resilient when facing life's obstacles. If I have people in my life that I can talk to, then things are going to be easier for me to deal with. I called my wife yesterday. I call her every day. At break, I'm going to go call her today. But I was trying to talk to her yesterday, and I couldn't really get a word in. And I had to hang up on her. I had to say, well, bye, I'll call you later, because a couple of her cousins had run into her, and they had issues they needed to talk to her about. She's a pastor as well. So they're over there talking to her because they needed that social support. Right? So we need to have some people we can talk to help us get past those life obstacles. They're more likely, people who have that support are more likely to beat addiction. Is it a guaranteed thing that if we have people in our life that's going to talk to, is it guaranteed? No, that's not guaranteed. We can have the best system in place ever. This thing is baffling and cunning, and it'll sneak up behind you and jump on you and get you. Right? That's what happens to me with the sugars, like Mr. Gold said. So when you went in, you knew you had peanuts in your car, but you said, "I'm going to go in that place looking for peanuts." Your limbic system was telling you there's sugar in there, right? Same thing with our addiction to alcohol or drugs. There's alcohol in there. Yeah. So I went to a little thing one time where my wife used to years ago be a hairdresser. And we had a little party for the hairdressing things, and they had little champagne drinks. And, so I was in my addiction years and years ago. So I had a little champagne. I drank a couple of those. That stuff is nasty. I don't know who loves champagne, but my God, there's something mentally wrong with you, because champagne's terrible. But I was drinking it. Why was I drinking it? It had alcohol in it. So, and I had to go to the potty, so I'm walking through the house. I still got my champagne flute. And so when I went through the kitchen, headed for the bathroom, there was a bottle of booze up there. Guess what happened? Bottle of booze got opened, and some of the booze went. That made that champagne so much more palatable.
Accidentally got spilled.
Accidentally, yes, sir. I don't know that they ever noticed that about half of their booze was gone, but yeah, they must have thought when I left from there, man, that was some strong champagne. So, we need somebody there all the time. So when somebody now says, hey, we need you to come over here and do this, we'd love to have you come and be part of this, the first question I always ask is, where is it? What's it? What's the deal? What are we doing? I want to have some information. If they say, well, we're going to have this, we're going to do that, I'm a pastor, so I do some weddings sometimes. I'm not really nuts about doing them, but I can, and so I do them. And, I will ask that. You're going to be boozing it up after? Yeah, lots and lots and lots of people do that. Lots of people do. Yeah. Lots of people do that. Okay. I don't. So that doesn't mean I'm not going to go and officiate at the wedding. And y'all know I got a funeral this afternoon. I'm going to go and I'm not officiating there, but I'm going to go and do that. But I'm not going to, after it's over with, if they're having alcohol and stuff, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get myself out of there. But I'm going to know what's going to happen before I get there, right? Lots and lots of times we show up at a place we had no idea. So what do you do when you walk in and it's full of booze? We walk out. Yeah, we walk out. I told y'all about the story. I only have 3 stories. I have to tell them over and over again. But I told y'all about my daughter's birthday that happened. They happened to have it at Tio Juanita's. Tio Juanita's a bar. I mean, the worst kind of bar. It's a nasty, bad place. Don't go there. It's terrible. They do sell food, and that's what. Why do they sell food? Yeah, to give you a good excuse for bad behavior. Now I'm gonna go out to Tio Juanita's because I like food. I got the food from Tio Juanita's that night. It's not that good. It's not as good as Hamilton's. It's not as good as some of the other places in town. So it's not all that good. That's a good excuse for bad behavior. That place is just a bar. You go in there enough, you will relapse. That's what they want you to do. Because like you said, they sell food so they can sell more booze. So these people more likely, though, it's not a guarantee, but more likely to beat that addiction. So make a point to strengthen those relationships that are positive, that are sober, that are deep, deep, deep in recovery, and not the ones that are still using. If you've got somebody in your family that's still using drugs or alcohol, avoid them like the plague, because that's what they are. They have the same disease that we have. Theirs is not in remission. It's catching. It's contagious. It is. If you don't believe it's contagious, go hang around somebody drinking. Go hang around somebody doing a few little drugs. It won't be long before you got it. Won't be long before you'll be back in it. This crud is catching. It's contagious. So make a point to strengthen the relationships that are positive. Attend support groups. We have support groups in here, and I'm really thankful for that. But I'll tell you what, probably 80% of the people who get out of here do not go to the support groups they're supposed to be going. Look, if we don't go to support groups, is that a guarantee we're going to fail? Pretty much. There's always that outlier. There's always somebody that got off the booze, got off of the drugs, never went to a support group and made it. Right? And they've been sober for 30 years. We're always going to find that person, and that's the work of the devil. Because when we see all of that, we can go and point to that person, use that person as an example of a bad idea. Well, look, he did that. My grandma smoked cigarettes until she was 99 years old. Okay, so you're fixing to have cancer and die at 45, but we can use her as an example. And so we don't need to do that. That's not us. He did that, but we're not going to be able to do that. So we need to know that. Go to those things, go to support groups, and build new friendships. We need to get in this bag. We got new stuff in here. There needs to be some new people in there. We talk about it from time to time. There are, and I don't know the exact number, but there's somewhere around 8 billion people on the face of the earth. So when your pheromones are all stirred up because of Bubba or Babette, we need to know that they are not the only people on the face of the earth that can stir up your pheromone. I'm in love with that person. I cannot live without that person. You know, if that person dies, I'm going to lay right down and die myself. That's not true. You know, that's not true. If that person wants to stay in whatever they're in, let them stay there. And we go somewhere else. There's 8 billion people. And look, out of the 8 billion people, there's probably 7,998,000,000,000 that are better looking, smell better, and got better sense than that person. You just happen to got your pheromones all stirred up about that. I've had folks tell me, "Ray, you're telling me I need to leave all my..." Yeah, if they're drinking and drugging, and you don't need to be around those people. You know, it's really sad, really hard, and I know it's sad, I know it's hard. Sometimes that person that's really anathema to me, that person who really is a curse to me, that person that I know that I'm going to, if I get back with that person, that I'm going to fail miserably. That person, I have children. You know, that makes it hard, doesn't it? That person is my mama. That makes it hard. That person is my brother, my sister. That makes it hard. It doesn't make it any less necessary for us to stay away from them. No, we got to stay away from them. Now, you got to do something about the baby people. The littles didn't do this. The littles didn't do it. So we need to do something where we can, you know, we can do something about the littles without being involved with those people. What's the answer to that? I know. Oh no. Something we need to pray about, get our higher power involved in and take off. Maybe that other person that I've had children with, maybe that person can get into recovery in some way. That would be marvelous. You know. So we also look. We need daily support. We need to have people there all the time. We need love and belonging. So we need people in our lives that's going to be there and going to tell you, "Hey, it's all right." We need people that's going to be there and say, "Hey, it's okay." But we also need to have those self-same people tell us it's not all right. Look, I'm looking at you and I can see you're getting nervous. I can look at you and you know what I've noticed? You stopped going to your sober support group. You know what I've noticed? You ain't been to church in 4 or 5 weeks. You know what I've noticed? You're starting to snap at people. You know what I've noticed? There's some stuff going on in your life ought not be going on. You need to get the group, Bubba. You know, we need the people to be saying that to us too. When it's okay to say it's okay. When it ain't okay to say it's not okay. We need people who are not afraid to hurt their feelings. You know, we need people, okay, that's going to be a little hurt. Sometimes I need somebody to come up and tell me the bald-faced truth. You know, so that's the kind of person I need supporting me. Not somebody who's going to come up and poo-poo me and foo-foo me and do all that stuff. I need somebody to come up and shake me by the collar every now and then. Yeah, you need to get your butt to groove. You're fixing to relapse. I'm not going to relapse. Yes, you are. You're right now in a relapse spiral. You're right at this moment. Stop going to church. Stop going to your group. You stop socializing with the right people. You're starting to think about Bubba. You're starting to think about Babette. You're starting to think about, that old boy that was back in he's the best person on. Give you the shirt right off in his back. Well, he would. I don't want that old used, sweaty, tool. I don't want that shirt and I don't want that person. But we'll start thinking about that. And so we need to have those people in our lives. So here's the deal. we still, even though we've got those people in our lives every day, all day long, we do really need to have somebody that's going to be there for crisis support too. When I start feeling bad, when I start, when I start feeling like I don't want to go to my group, how many people get tired of going to an AA group? You go to the same group. You need a home group, so you go to the same group. You got the same 8 people that's going to raise their hand. You know who they are. They're going to share the same story every stinking night. Can I get boring? You got the same coffee that ain't no good at all. And, whoever makes the coffee, and nobody's ever showed them how to make the coffee. Have one person that comes in to make the coffee that somebody somewhere told him you need to put a handful of salt in the coffee. I don't know who told him that, but they need to be subjected to slapification, right? Somebody needs to slap the snot out of them. They have no snot left. You don't put salt in your coffee. And if you put salt in your coffee, don't put salt in my coffee. Don't do that. So some people do that. But we need to have people there who are there for the crisis as well. What do you know about going to group? It can be boring. Now, you don't go to group to be entertained. You go to group, going to group is about me doing what I've got to do to stay sober. I can go down there and I can sit down and tell those people why it's so boring in here. I can do whatever I need. It's about me and my recovery. And my recovery says that I need to go sit in that group and tell them my boring story. Just because that's what I need to do. I need to be there too. Because look, have you ever been sitting in a group where you got the same 8 old boys? Somebody raised his hand up. My name is Bubba. I'm an alcoholic. Man, I'm craving. Yeah, but you've been sober yeah, I know, but I really need a drink. I really want it. Okay, at that point in time, he's in crisis and he needs you. Right? That's what it's about. So, when in crisis, it's helpful to have a person you can count on for support, whoever that might be. Someone you can call. There should be, look, it doesn't necessarily have to be your sponsor. Somebody who's sober, somebody's going to help talk you through the situation. Make a list of people that you can contact during these situations and how you can reach them. You need to know. Is it a good idea to have more than one? Yeah. People do, people go on vacation. People don't answer their phone. People don't want to hear anything you've got to say at that moment. People are having their own moment, so they don't want to hear anything you've got to say. So you've got your sponsor. He's just one person. She's just one person. And then you've got 7 or 8 sober support people that you call to. They have to be your friends? No, they have to be sober. They have to be willing to support you in a crisis. They don't have to be your buddy. They don't have to be your friend. They just have to be willing to talk to you when you're having a crisis. They don't need to have any great, fantastic thing to tell you. 90% of the time, we need them just to be on the other end of the phone for 10 minutes so we can talk to them. Just tell them, look, this is what's going on with me. That helps us so much. Just be able to regurgitate the mess, get it out of our system for a few minutes. So you got to have those people. All right, real quickly, we're going to go over one other things, and then we'll take our break here in just a second. But one of the things I see people wanting to get rid of, and we talked a little bit about yesterday, we need to be willing to look for some diversions in our life. When those things come, if I can't get a hold of somebody, what am I going to do? I had a guy tell me one time, go bowling. Going bowling a good idea? Could be. If you're according to where you go bowling, a lot of bowling alleys are bars, right?
Go jogging.
Say it again. Go jogging. yeah, something to, just something to get my mind off of it. Cravings, as we all probably know, are brutal. They're brutal. We know also they don't last but about 8 minutes, but while they're here, they feel like they're going to last forever. They're brutal. It feels horrible. They grow. They grow. They're like a bad weed. My wife has this rose garden. And when it blooms, she got red ones and yellow ones and white ones and pink ones, and they're beautiful. But every now and then she'll tell me, someone needs to weed my garden. Yeah? And so she thinks, I don't know where she got this idea, but she thinks my middle name is someone. Because she's looking right at me when that happens. So those weeds, though, if I'll pull them, everyone out, there's nothing left but dirt. Everything's gone. It's great. And a couple of days later, here comes a little green, and it's going to start growing. And if you'll leave it alone, it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll get bigger than the stinking roses. It's up there where you can't see the roses for the grass, right? Go do it again. They grow. They gnaw at your willpower. They want to get you demanding. Remember, my limbic system is telling me, you're going to die if you don't. Your sugar level is so low that you're going to die. Look at your little thing in there. Your sugar is dropping. You need some sugar. And look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm real susceptible to that. When I'm listening to, it's part of my brain. And when it's telling me I need to do that, I get to telling myself, well, you know what? My sugar is low. I look down here, my sugar's at 80. And when my sugar's at 80, I'm like this. I'm going into DTs. My sugar's way down. I really do need a cookie. I need a cookie. So if I go eat a cookie, is that going to help me? Yeah. It'll bring it up to, 90, 100. I'll feel much better. But I don't eat a cookie. I've never been able to eat a cookie. I'll eat a pack of cookies. I'll eat a box of cookies. I'll eat 100 cookies. But I ain't going to eat just a cookie. Right? So I eat more than I need. And suddenly my sugar's up yonder somewhere. I feel a little better, but my sugar, all that stuff is killing me. In the middle of a craving, it feels like the only way to escape the craving is to you. After you. Got to get something. So, but then if you resist the craving, it will start to fade. Eventually, the craving will even disappear. It'll go away. Most cravings within 8 minutes are beginning to subside. And an hour after they've begun, you don't have them. They're gone. For now. They may come back tomorrow, the next day, but the craving is not a forever phenomenon. It will go away. And I've had people ask me, okay, when? Give it an hour and see what happens. This is why we go one day at a time. Have you ever been to that place where you had to go 1 hour at a time? Yeah. I can lie back to my limbic system. My limbic system lies to me and said, if you don't use, you're going to die. That's a lie. You're not. So I can tell my limbic system, okay, I'm not going to do it today, but we'll use tomorrow. Usually they'll shut my limbic system up. Shut it down. Sometimes I've had to say I'm not using. It's 10 o'clock or nearly 10 o'clock. I'm not going to use maybe at 11 o'clock. Let's look at 11 o'clock, maybe using at 11 o'clock. And so my limbic system calms down. By the time I get to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, then the limbic system has been shut down and I feel better. So I can. Sometimes that's what we have to do. You can even cut it down, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, give it 10 more minutes. And, it's just hold out for a while. But if you can hold out until you are, howdy, man. If you can hold out until you are for an hour, you're probably going to be okay. Now, here's the deal. What's a diversion? Is it? Exercise is a good diversion. But a diversion is anything that gets your eyes off the goal of using. Anything. Anything that can get my eyes off the goal of using. The goal of diversions is simple. All it is to buy ourselves some time. Right? It's to buy ourselves. So we've bought enough time talking about diversion. Now we're going to quit a little bit early. Come back in here about 15 minutes after. We'll finish up the thing on diversion. All right.
Alright, so they tell us yet. We need to rock out JJ.
What are you talking about? You're going to rock out somebody?
Yep, we're gonna rock out somebody.
All right. Sounds like a good time to do it. We just went on the, well, we'll go break right after the music.
Okay, we can't
Hey,
Y'all know what, everybody knows what we're about to do?
Go rock the pig.
Roll, rock. Absolutely. We're going to take that. We're going to take that rock and put something in that rock. Look, it's actually a magic deal. Whatever you want to put in that rock, you can put in that rock, and he'll take that with him. Where is it?
in here. JJ.
Yes.
I'm gonna put discernment in here. Because I want you to discern the right people, places, and things in your life. If it doesn't feel right here, it's not right out there. I'm going to tell you how much I love you, and I think you're doing a fabulous job. God, keep this man on the straight and narrow, because he deserves it.
All right, remember, we're putting stuff in this rock. Okay. I want to put hemorrhoids in here. I want to put hemorrhoids in here because here's the deal. I want this rock to be around him. I want him to hold this rock here. And anytime his addiction comes up and does something and says, hey, you have to use, I want him to get a case of the hemorrhoids so bad he can't even leave his house. Just holding him where he needs to be. Father God, we love you, praise you, Father God. Give him, Lord, that type of understanding that you want him to have. He needs to understand who he is, where he's going, what he's doing. We just praise you for that. Thank you.
You last. Don't give it to him. No, let me.
You gotta go and come. And once you keep the faith, keep the head up. Stay low, stay slow, stay focused on God. Amen.
Doing the right thing.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Good job. Thank you.
I put it in the ability to make off self-assessment.
Yeah, that's good.
Much to be slow to anger. Sometimes I think people tell you should hear what we like. have get rid of the life. That's for yourself.
All right, I got you. Don't have to say too much.
And finally going, I had this
All right.
you get it in your head like you do, just talk about it with somebody or write about it.
You say like you do.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Once you stay alive, stay strong, focusing on life. You go first.
I'm proud to. Here's your cup.
Don't do that.
When I got here, you were very close-minded, very interested in what you thought you would learn. Now, I see that you're able to take on direction, that you're able to be flexible, but don't let that flexibility, okay, keep your recovery first. Let Holy Spirit guide, not the world. Just don't get lost in the boredom. Stir yourself up. Use the things on here to help others. I know not always.
All right, y'all.
Your turn.
I love y'all. I'm on a short schedule right now. I'm ready to take on the world, and not the world take on me. But I'm gonna take it one day at a time, one step at a time, one meeting at a time. So, I love y'all, and I see y'all later.
Bye, brother.
Oh, and guess what, y'all? If I didn't say it before, today is my 30th day. And guess how many days I'm clean?
30.
30.
Right.
The number going up.
Bring back cigarettes, you owe.
Hey,
You go big.
I'm gonna try to do that.
You're gonna try. Go try and sneak off without paying your debts.
Come on, girl. All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
All right.
Try the chicken? Try it?
No, that's the bees.
Had the chicken on my phone like program. Okay, that's it.
It's an office.
What's up?
I never know.
seeing if this girl is any good. Bad, bad, bad boy. Right.
I call it.
So I
You tasted it?
Mr. Curly, it's not ready. It's still brewing. All right, thanks, bro.
All right, we're back. Know that we're just a little tiny bit behind schedule, but it's a day like that today over here. So we are again looking at diversions real quickly. What we said when we quit was the goal of a diversion is to just buy us some time. This doesn't have to be forever and all of that stuff, but it's just to buy us some time. Because we know that if we can deal with things for about an hour, everything's going to work out pretty well for us. We can make it through that. Here's the deal: if I can make it through today, that's going to give me tomorrow. When I get here tomorrow, if I can make it through tomorrow, so that's what I'm doing with my diversions. I just want to get it to the place where I can distract myself. So if I can distract myself for just 1 hour, you'll have a much better chance of avoiding relapse. So I need to know some of the things that's distracting to me that I can use as a diversion to keep me from having to go. And here's the one thing that we need to know is that terminology is skewed because my limbic system is telling me, my own brain is telling me that I indeed do have to use, but I don't have to use. Right? We know that. We don't have to use. So if I can distract myself from that situation, it's just going to make it me. I'm going to get to the place where I can do it. I can get past that point and go on for the next part of it. Just for 1 hour, you're going to have a much better chance of avoiding the relapse. So we need to come up with a list of distractions that are our own, a list of activities that are going to distract me. I like to listen to some music. Sometimes that's distracting to me. I really like a couple of oldie bands like Three Dog Night. That's the best band that was ever created. Number 2 is the Marmalade. If you've never listened to the Marmalade, you need to look them up someday and listen to them. They're a Scottish rock and roll band, and they did very well. So come up with that list of activities that you genuinely enjoy doing that's going to keep you at a distance from your temptation. One thing I like to do is work out. I know y'all can tell. You know, but I do go and work out, and I enjoy doing that. So there's some things. They gave us some ideas. As Shaw already said, one of them, taking a jog. Y'all know the guy that came up with the jogging craze back in the 80s? You know what happened to him? He had a heart attack while jogging. So nothing is fail-proof, So some of these things, though, just go for a walk. I love to go for a walk. Because one of the reasons we go to state parks is because they have all of these different trails that you can go down. And they give you a map when you get there, and it tells you this trail, the difficulty level is way up here, and it's a 5-mile trek. Do we go on that one? Usually not. Then they have another one down here that says this is a moderate trek, and it's it's a half a mile. Sometimes we go on that one. But then there's an easy one that's a wooden trail that's built up over the trail and all of that stuff, and it's usually a quarter of a mile, and it's a really easy trek. As you're going down that way, they have little cutouts where you can sit down and rest and all of that stuff. So, there is a way to get that done. So, some of the things that said go for a walk, watch a movie. Does it matter which movie you watch? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it does. We don't want to watch Up in Smoke. Y'all ever seen that movie? That's an old movie. Cheech and Chong, Up in Smoke.
Yes.
So we don't want. It's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's not the best one when we're trying to get rid of a craving. Yeah. Um, dude, this is a good one. And look, I'm serious now. I'm not lying.
Do you think that because of the movie Cheech and Chong that plays a role in every in people that has a disease or alcoholic problem that we cross into reality? Do you feel like that's for everyone or just those that just can't control?
Well, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you that we all have different triggers. He was asking, if I really believe that just watching that movie is going to trigger some people. No, of course. If I watch somebody, you know why they don't have cigarette smoking on television anymore? Because watching somebody take that cigarette and put it in their mouth. I used to watch that when I had quit smoking. they were going to smoke a cigarette. They put it in their mouth and it'd be bobbing up and down. I'm going to light it, light the cigarette, smoke it. Yeah, but yeah, it was a real big trigger for me. And for some people, it's a big trigger. But triggers are unique, are they not? Your triggers are your triggers. Some triggers are universal, right? We talk about the universal triggers. What are they? Somebody tell me the universal trigger. What is it? Oh, people, places, and things. People, place. Everybody, that's everybody. That's your triggers. If you don't know, what's my trigger? Old people. Your people you used to, that's a trigger for you. The places you used to go to use, that's a trigger for you. The things you used to do while you were, that's a trigger for you. So you know them. But when we get beyond that, there are some unique triggers. Like some people could probably, and there's always outliers, some people could watch Cheech and Chong's up and smoking and not bother them at all. Other people be using for the movie though. It's just you need to know your own limitation. You need to know your own stuff. I know some of the stuff that I couldn't do, you could do easily. So we just need to know. Those are warning signs. I need to know the moment that somebody says, hey, Cheech and Chong, up and smoke, somebody's already started craving because of that. Somebody's already started getting jittery because of that. Other people, never bother. Never bother. So we need to know what our own stuff is. Bought me some new glasses. Left the other glasses in this glass, man, thought I'd go blind. But I left the stuff on. That's supposed to take care of it. All right.
Very good distraction.
Say it again.
Distraction.
Yeah, that's to keep you from scratching it. But all right, so we're gonna do that. Watch a movie. This one I'm going to tell you is really real, and it's a good one, and you can do it. And if you don't have a place to do it at your house, I want you to know. Get with me now, and you can come over to my house. Now, have I relapsed on my lying thing? Probably. But it says go do some yard work. I have a fella that comes to my house and cuts out trees and stuff like that for me, so he probably, but if I did it myself, play a game, play an instrument. Anybody play an instrument? I play the radio. That's about it. Go hiking in nature. I'm planning next week to be hiking in several different states. I just love that. When we were in 2003, we went to. Thank you. So look at that. See, look at that. See, look at that. And he kind of hate not being here. Didn't love me. We went up in the mountains. It was the beginning of the Appalachian Mountains there, and we just had a good time doing that. So this time we're going to be down. How about reading a book? Anybody readers? I read all the time, and that's why I always have a book in the bathroom. It's a good place to read. Practice a hobby, whatever your hobby is. You have a hobby. Anybody have a good hobby? Don't know what my hobby is? Anybody got an idea what my hobby is?
Lying.
What is it?
Lying.
Lying? He almost got it, but it's not lying.
Right.
Writing?
Yeah.
I do like to write. I have some books in print. It kind of hurts my feelings because you guys haven't bought them. But I like to fly. That's a hobby. Just being around an airplane. Yeah, being around an airplane, loving on airplanes. I just like that. Nothing better in the world than pulling your stick back just a little bit. You feel the airplane bump. You know, pull it a little bit further back, and shoo, you're in a 172 or 150, and you pull that back. It's like a little. When you start it up, it's like a little bee or something, you know. Because when you start it, it goes, whoo. It wants to go. Let's go. 150. It wants to be in the sky. You know, boom, you know, it's ready to go. 72 is a little bit, you know, different because it's a little bit bigger and all of that stuff. But that 150, you got to have your feet on the brakes when you hit the engine because it'll be in the sky before you know it.
That field.
Just on the highway, freeway.
Yeah, lots of that.
I know some guys at the workplace just happens.
Yeah, lots. You hear a lot of that going on. You know, it's just like, and I have people say, man, why on earth would you like to fly? You could crash those things. They do. They do. Probably 40,000 more people die in car accidents than they do flying. You know, but you hear, you know, today there's going to be thousands of people die on the roads today. You ain't going to hear anything about them unless you're local. But you have one small plane with 2 people in it crash in Podunk, New York, and it's going to be all over the news. Airplane crash! You know, it's the safest way to travel. I've been all over the world flying. It's just magnificent. So practice a hobby. Draw something. Paint something. Go for a bicycling ride. Get on your bicycle. I've got 2 motorcycles. Both of them are sitting in the garage rotting down. But I own them. You know, so they're there. Used to ride all the time. Call a friend.
What you want for it?
$1,000 million.
So basically, $1,000.
Well, yeah, I'd probably sell them for that. I don't know. Take some photographs. Play a sport. Go for a run. Do a craft, write or journal. I love that one. Lift weights. Play with your pet. Yes, sir. Yeah, play with your pets. Listen to music. Clean or organize your house. Cook or bake. Take a long bath. Go swimming. Rearrange a room. What are they telling you with all of that junk?
Do something.
Do something. Do something. If you just sit down and start thinking about using, then you're going to be thinking about using, then you're going to be thinking about, I used. Right? So just find something to do. It is more advantageous if whatever I do, I'm going to enjoy doing it. Because I'm going to guarantee you right now, if you don't have something you can do, I'll give you my wife's phone number, and she will give you something. I can sit down. And my wife doesn't tell me to do stuff. She suggests things that might need to happen in the future if my life is going to be livable. You know, we need to do this. And when she says we, what does that mean?
You.
Me. She thinks my middle name is somebody or we. You know, we're going to do this. We need to do this. But, so she got plenty of stuff to do. Oh, absolutely. When she says, hey, we need to do this. Okay, next time she looks, it's done. You know. And so, you know, I want to do that.
We need to go to the store and get some turkey hammer ground.
Yes, yes. I'm going to run to the store and buy some turkey, grandma. Yeah, and yes, ma'am. And I'm going to be, now, look, we've gone to, you ever been to Basic Foods? Yeah. Now we're going to Basic Foods, and we're buying the different basic foods. She bought a little roast. And she cooked it, and you know I've eaten 1,000 of her roast down, and she's a good cook. Everything is wonderful. This don't taste like meat. It don't taste like meat, and she had to cook it different. All of that kind of stuff. So anyway, but she said, "Was that good?" Well, it was very interesting. Yeah. All right. So here's the deal. One of the things, like we were talking about, we need a bag of new stuff. You know, we've got to dust off the old stuff. If some of the old stuff is crappy, bad, and ugly, we need to throw the old stuff away. I'm really, really bad at not throwing old stuff away. I need to force myself to do that. We moved into the house we're living in now. We had great big old house up north, and we moved into this house, and this house is about half the size or even less. And so we've got all of that stuff in boxes and things out in a barn that I have. And on the back porch is full of all kinds of stuff. And it's been there for 20 years. We've been living in this house probably 25 years. So how many folks realize that stuff probably ain't no good no more? Right? It's probably not much good. I still mine though. I still own it. My trash is trash, but it's my trash. So I need a better habit on that. Most of our addictions require a lot of time, right? That's why we ask you the question, how much time did you spend getting the drug, using the drug, or getting over the drug? When we think about that, that's a lot of time. We've used a lot of time. Even if my drug was alcohol, I used a little bit of marijuana, but my drug was alcohol. And so I had to go to the place to find the booze, to get the booze, to buy the booze, and all of that kind of stuff, and then get to a place where I could use the booze, right? And so it took some time to do that. Using it took me a little bit of time, but getting over the use of it took me quite a bit of time. So, we need to build some new habits. Now, thinking about acquiring and indulging in an addiction can fill most of a day up. And I don't know why they say that, because my addiction could fill the whole day up. That's all I did that day. Because when I'm drinking, I'm not eating. When I'm drinking, I'm not doing much I'm not working. When I'm drinking, I'm not doing much of anything else but that. So we need to come up with something different. When you quit, when we stop using, one of the greatest new resources we have is time. We've got a lot of time. We can do some stuff. However, if your newfound time isn't filled with healthy activities, it's going to pose a risk falling back into old habits. We get bored. I hear that a million times. If I've heard it a minute, why did you relapse? I got bored. Boredom, just bored. Because we got all of this time, and now even the stuff that we were doing when we were using doesn't seem to be fun because we don't have the drug in there enhancing everything. So we're trying to do things without all that drug and not working too well. So we need to begin now building some new habits. So we're building new habits. Is different than diversions because of the focus on long-term or permanent life changes. A diversion is what? It's to last how long? About an hour. Yeah, an hour, maybe a day. I'm going to divert myself. Going out here and playing basketball is a diversion because I'm not a basketball player and I'm not going to be a professional basketball player the rest of my life, am I? No, neither are you, more than likely. We can go out there as a diversion and play some basketball. We can go grab those weights. That'll be a diversion for 5 or 10 minutes. But this new habit, this new deal is a lifestyle change. We're going to change some stuff, and it's going to be a permanent fixture in our life. That's where it's different. A diversion is a 10-minute diversion, a 1-hour diversion. But a new habit is a lifestyle thing. So it's a permanent life change. It isn't about riding out a craving. This is about a better life for me and a better life for you. Not about riding out the craving. I've been riding out the craving. At this point, I'm going to change my life so that I don't have to ride out a craving. I'm going to get to a better place with it. Here's a big deal. In this bag of new stuff, one of the biggest things we need to do, one of the first things we need to do is foster new relationships. A lot of us need some new people in our lives. Remember I told y'all I used to live in Mississippi. I was born and raised in Mississippi, Meridian to be specific. And when things started going a little bit cock-wobbled over there, I left Mississippi and I moved to Texas. How many people did I tell I was moving to Texas? Nobody. Nobody. Uh, nobody. You know, I moved from Mississippi to Texas, and did what's called a geographical escape. Does that work? Sometimes it will. Sometimes it will. You had something to say?
I don't want to say. Where did you meet your wife?
Here in Texas. I met two people when I got to Texas. I met the two most important people in my life right here in Texas. I met the Lord Jesus Christ here in Texas, and I met my sweet wifey Pooh here in Texas. Her cousin introduced us, and boy, it was all downhill from there. I guarantee you. I knew her about 20 minutes and asked her to marry me, and she ran me out of her house. And her mother told me to go away, you know, all sorts of stuff. But it didn't work. I kept coming back until now. Here we are. So we need to foster some new relationships. We don't necessarily have to leave our state or our area or anything like that, but we do need to leave our old lifestyle. We need to leave that behind. So join a casual sports league. You know, there's church baseball teams and church football teams and all kind of stuff like that. The AA, some of the AA groups have stuff like that. There are groups that go down to the beach, play volleyball, and have a sober support day on the beach. You know, stuff like that. You can attend a local meetup with one of your interests or hobbies. Some of the stuff that you do, you think that there are flying clubs in Texas? All over the place. You can buy a portion of an airplane. Now, I don't want to do that. But, you know, some of these airplanes, they have 5 different people that own them. You know, they own, 20% portion of the airplane. So you got to figure out when it's your turn to fly and all of that stuff. And they do that, and it gets them into that social club, the fly-in club, and do all of that stuff. There's also fly-ins where you got some type of little experimental airplane or something, light sport airplane or ultralight airplane or something like that. You can fly it in, and you know there's barbecue and there's just a good time had by all, like going to the fair or something. So you can do some of those things. Get involved in your community by volunteering or supporting a cause you care about. Yeah, you know, we can go and do some of the things that we can do all the time. And it's good, you know, go to a feeding station and help somebody that's really in need. It's good. We have a lady that we're about to re-roof her home. And once we get the house roofed, because it's leaking, I asked her where it's leaking, and she named about 5 different rooms in her house where it's leaking. So we need to go do that. And then the next thing, her front porch is about to fall, so we're going to rebuild the front porch. Do you see how that gets a lot of people together? And it's a social thing. We've got about 5 or 6 guys out of the church going to go over there, and they're going to you'll spend a couple of Saturdays there doing that. You know, so we're going to start that as soon as I get back from vacation. So, just get involved in some of the things you do. Develop some new professional skills. That's a really fun thing to do, and I've said it about 30 times in here. I'm taking courses. I'm always taking courses, and if you want to, you can go to Allison.com, Alison, Allison.com, and it's out of England. And you can study all kinds of new stuff: IT, psychology, child caring, parenting skills, anything you want to study, English language, all of that stuff, and it's all free. Now, at the end of it, you get a certificate for having gone through it. You have to buy the certificate, or you can even, if you want to do something that's a little bit longer, a little bit more involved, you can do a diploma, which of course then you have to buy the diploma as well. So that's how they make their money. But it's a really good resource for us to do something that on a professional level. You can even use what you get there to go to work with. So return to school, pursue a subject you're interested in, find a full-time job, Find a career that you enjoy. Build new skills on your own using free online resources or practice your existing skills. If you're a psychologist or something and you're trying to get into, it's a good idea to go back and go back through the psychology thing. Every course I have degrees in psychology, and every course that I'm taking now, I have um, I've already studied that and pretty much in depth. I have one at the house is one of their psychology diplomas. I've started another one up here. So at lunch or on break or something like that, I'm going through that one. So when it's over with, I'm going to have two of them. They're going at the same stuff from different angles, but it's interesting. So, whatever you wanted to do, that would be good. Just having something, develop some new stuff. I looked the other day for one on small engine repair. And they have that. I was just looking to see if they had it. And they have small engine repair, motorcycle engine repair. And so it's a really good thing to go and to do. So here's another thing. This is really super duper important. We already talked about it a little bit, but we need to catch a hold of it, is refocus on the existing relationships. I need to refocus on my existing relationships. What I need to do is look at the people who are in my life right now, and I may need to call some of those people. If those people have not been healthy, if that relationship down through the years has not been healthy for me, I need to get out of that relationship. And I do realize, and I've said this forever, but I do realize when I say this is a relationship you need to get out of, sometimes that's the hardest thing you're ever going to do.
Pre-existing.
Yes, ones that you've already had. Refocus on the existing relationship. Relationships that we already have. I need to take a look at it. Sometimes I might need to call it. Sometimes I might need to say, well, I'm not going to go back and be, have a relationship with that person. And that doesn't necessarily mean a romantic relationship. There's some, I have a guy that I know fairly well who owns his own facilities. He's got 5 of them. And I worked for him for a while. I was one of the directors for his program. And I won't go back and work for that guy. I just won't do that. He's not ethical, not ethical, and not moral. And so I'm not going to go back and work for that guy. So we may need to look at some of those relationships and say that relationship is unhealthy. Why do we keep going back to an unhealthy relationship? Must be love. It could be, but here's the other thing. When you go into it, that if you get back with that person, there's going to be arguments.
She'll be coming around the mountain. Coming around the mountain.
I don't know about you, but I wish you could sing. But we know that when we get there, there's going to be arguing, fussing, and fighting. There's going to be all sorts of that kind. Why would we go back to a relationship like that?
Enjoy work.
Say it again?
We enjoy working ourselves.
We do. We do enjoy it, and that's what happens. We get addicted to the excitement. We're addicted to the chaos. So we want to go back to that. Now, we need to be at a place where we realize that, okay, I may have an addiction in that area, but that's not a good area for me either. I don't need to have all of that negative excitement, negative stuff in my life. So I need to, so that's why it's so hard, because that limbic system is addicted to the person and addicted to the excitement and the drama and the crud. I know people who've been married for a long time and they fight all the time. They're addicted to the chaos. And so we need to understand that the reason it's so hard for me to walk away from that person is not always because I love them on a deep, abide love. It's not like that. I'm addicted to that person, and I'm addicted to the chaos. What's that called? Codependency. So I'm codependent on that person. I feel like if I'm not around that person, I won't be able to live. My life is going to end because I can't be with that person. That's not true. So We might build a routine around socializing with friends and family. We need to be doing that on a regular basis. Have Sunday dinners with family, evening walks with a friend or a new friend. We need to be proactive. What does proactive mean? I'm going to do it. Don't wait for them to get with you. You get with them. I'm going to do it. I just called the people that's working on my trailer, and it just ran through my mind. People are a little bit not as sharp as you want them to be. So I'm waiting on the insurance company to tell me how much it's going to cost to fix my roof. But I had several other things I needed for them to do, and can we help you?
I'm here to.
You go right back outside that door. Look at that sign right there, and it'll show you where to go. So we need to be proactive. What proactive means is don't wait for others to reach out to you. You reach out to them. Anyway, I was talking to those guys over there, and I thought, they've quit working on my thing because they're waiting on the insurance guy to talk about the top. So I called them up, and I said, hey, look, y'all haven't stopped working on my... They said, oh, you want us to do that other stuff? Okay, now you've used up all your time. I'm going to pull out of there on Monday with my trailer. And she said, oh, well, we'll put it right back in. Okay. You wasted 3 or 4 days. So, we need to be proactive on that stuff. What's another good word for being proactive? Being assertive. We need to be assertive people. And we need to be assertive because aggressive is all about me. And passivity is all about you. You're going to get your way no matter how I feel about it. But being assertive, it's going to work out for you and me both. I want it to work out for me. Right? I do. I want it to work out for me. But I also want it to work out for you as well. So I want to be assertive. I want it to work out for both of us. So be proactive. Don't wait for them to reach out to you because here's the big deal is they may never do that. These people that are going to be positive in your life, they may not look at you as the most positive person they've ever known. You're an addict. Most people that you're going to be reaching out to knows that. They know what you've done. And so they may not be as, head up to reach out to you. So you need to reach out to them. So, say yes to, and look, I disagree with this on some level, but we'll talk about it. It says, say yes to every social invitation. But no, I got it. It's right. Say yes to every social invitation that will not put you at risk of relapse. If your cousin says, hey, come on over, we've got the keg ready, don't go. But if your cousin called you up and said, hey, man, we're having a Bible study over here, go on over there. I'm going to tell you, and you may not believe it right now, but it's true. You need to study the Bible. There's a few things in there that'll be good for you. You need to do it.
Yeah. But what if you call and say, come over and have a Bible study? Should we believe that?
I don't know. I'm still working on the lying. I will tell you, you're being facetious, but let me tell you this, that's a good point. Because when Bubba calls up and says, hey, come on over here, we're having a Bible study over here. There was a guy that was doing a Bible study, and he was doing it in the back of a bar. And okay, that's a good place to have a Bible study, but they were serving beer while okay, all right. The Lord drank wine and all of that stuff, but there's some of us that should not be at that Bible study. Okay, they should not be. And all right, so we're not going to do that, but there's a lot of us who could go to a Bible study like that. There's nothing wrong with drinking beer if you don't have a problem with it, right? If you don't have a problem, it's okay to have one. I have a problem. I can't do it. You have a problem. You can't do it. So, those are some of the things we do to build some new habits. One other thing real quickly is we get to that place of prevention. So we need to be avoiding our triggers and avoiding risky situations. Sometimes a risky situation has nothing to do with your trigger. Don't wait until you're in a bad situation to figure out how to escape it. Y'all right?
Yeah.
You need a cup?
Yeah, it's on the table.
Okay, go get it. Go get your stuff. Instead, avoid those situations altogether. I had a client that told me he was going to his brother's wedding. Is that okay? Yeah, so stay a little. But he got to his brother's wedding, and then he rode over there with his brother. And so when he got there, what'd that mean? He don't have a way of escape. He can't leave. When he got there, he found out they have an open bar there. But they don't have, he said, they didn't have any water there at all. Now, I find that hard to believe. I know that they got married in a barn. But, there was no water, and I find it hard to believe.
So there were no kids at the wedding?
Yeah, there were lots of kids at the wedding. Most, man, I'm pretty sure they had water, But, or maybe they had it in their car or something. But he couldn't get away. They're serving booze and all of that kind of stuff. And then they wanted to take pictures. And so they put everybody up after the wedding to take pictures. They put a champagne flute in each one of them's hands, put one in his hand. It's 93 degrees. He's tired. What's he do? Drank. He drank it. So, but he had no way to get out of there. So look, if I'm going to somebody's wedding, I'm taking my vehicle. I'm going to know that I'm going to have to get away from them. I'm also going to take my own little cooler with whatever I want to drink in there. Some water, some whatever, fruit juice, something like that. Something that's not going to be alcoholic in there with me. I'm going to take care of myself. That's me again being proactive. I'm not depending on what he knows when he went to the wedding with his brother in his brother's car, he ain't leaving with his brother in his brother's car. Myrtle is leaving with his brother in his brother's car. So he's going to be stuck out there, so it's just crazy stuff. So you might need to stay away from them altogether. You think it'd be possible for you to stay away from your brother's funeral? Brother's, I'm going to a funeral today, that's on my mind. Your brother's wedding?
No, attend the wedding and not the reception.
Yeah, attend the wedding and not the reception. If I can't do that, I don't. He's going to get married up without me being there anyway. I can not go. So it's a good idea for me to create a list of people, places, things that are likely to lead me to relapse. And I'm going to tell you something. You need to be cautious, because even making a list of the people, places, and things that may cause me to relapse can be a trigger. So we just need to be careful about that. Come up with a plan of how to avoid them in the future. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a different route from home to work. Other times it might mean a significant lifestyle change. I might just take another route so that I don't pass in front of the liquor store. Or I may move from Wisconsin to California. It may take a whole lifestyle change. So, all righty then. Questions, comments, or snide remarks? We're going to quit a little early. 5 minutes. So, I'll be over to pick up the